incumbent upon us to develop a plan as part of why we elect the county commissioners.
Okay, so there's not a quote unquote written plan per se.
We have some principled ideas on our website that we've come up with a white paper on saying how we should address public safety.
Okay, but nothing
And
specifically. What I'm trying to lead up to is, how is it, as you're trying to bring together this plan and this vision, how is it that the public is supposed to take what you're saying here tonight and come up with something in their mind that says, this is how your plan's going to work versus how this plan from the county is going to work? No. And if you don't have something like that, isn't kind of irresponsible to
I disagree.
doing that? And up to a minute and a half. If we could.
I disagree. It's responsible. In last November, we voted it down. We advocated to vote it down. And they came up with a plan, agreeably, has a slightly more of the philosophical stuff that we advocated. So what we are asking the voters is to vote this down, and then we'll come up with a plan without this expansion of the humongous expansion, creating the largest jail in Ohio, the 30th largest jail in the country. We are certainly not opposed to having this building replacing Queensgate with a modern facility. What we are opposed to is expanding the sheriff's patrols and expanding the jail.
We have plenty of ideas on our website, No Jail Tax. And what we are proposing is stuff like prevention. Let's keep kids in school. 50% of the kids in the Cincinnati public schools drop out. And Dr. Owens has said that 80%, I think, of the murders that happen on the street are these dropout kids. Well, let's put our money towards keeping these kids in school, for example. Expand the mental health court. Our mental health court only serves 37 people. It's been up and running for 4 years. We could be serving 4,000 people, and if we really want to be safe and prevent crime.
Okay. They're up to a minute and a half.
Thank you for your excellent question, because we don't have an alternative plan from anybody. We have that's real, and I think it's a really good context. It's interesting, though, to hear those points, because Pat DeWine actually has put together like a 2-page plan, and his plan would build a 600-bed jail. And do you know how he'd pay for it? By cutting things like the high school dropout intervention program that we have just begun. So we agree that we need that program. We actually put it in place. I think it's a great idea, Mike, so good that we've already started to do it. Now, the way that some of the folks who you've worked with want to pay for their jail is to cut into what they have called those programs that are wasteful, according to them. So they want to cut things like intervening with high school dropouts to pay for renting space at Butler County. So this is the specific plan. And you mentioned the mental health court. In our plan, we actually tomorrow will be addressing expanding the mental health court. We're going to bring down the Ohio Supreme Court to help us do that. That's what our plan does. But I think it's a great question also, because there is no other plan. And the alternative to this passing in November is actually very dire. Now, some say this is scare tactics. Actually, the truth around this is scary. We have a short-term rental situation in Butler County. The money for that runs out in December. We have sheriff's patrols that have made over the Rhine safer. The money for that runs out in December. And we have intervention programs that are actually working to lower recidivism, and the money for that runs out in December if we don't pass this proposal in November. That's the only alternative plan that will actually happen.
Thank you, Mr. Pepper. We'll go back to the opponents for up to a minute for rebuttal.
You know, the last time I heard about a scare tactic for a sales tax was the stadium issue. The way it was put was the Bengals are going to get a stadium whether you like it or not. Whether it's going to be in Hamilton County or in Maryland is up to the Hamilton County voters. And we got a stadium and we got a tax increase, and we know what kind of a tax increase and what kind of a raw deal the county taxpayers got. So don't fall prey to this. Don't fall prey to the scare tactics. And we can certainly disagree with Commissioner DeWine adding the 600 beds. Anyone who wants to expand a jail when Cuyahoga County, much larger county, and Franklin County, also another larger county, has less per capita jail beds and has really about the same crime rate. Really, Franklin County is slightly lower crime rate than us, can do a better job. I don't see why we need to spend $110,000 per bed for this new jail.
Okay, and we'll go back to the proponents for up to a minute rebuttal.
Well, again, I think it's just important to note that we need to compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges. When we talk about the stadiums, let's remember that happened under a Republican-controlled county commission, not a Democratic-controlled county commission. Let's also take a look at how we got to where we are. The situation we have with the jail is no different than the situation we have with some of our other infrastructure. And it's been very, very easy for people just to come up with the Band-Aids and the stopgaps and not address the issues that need to be addressed in a way that prevents us from passing these problems on to the next generation. The reality is we did not get here by accident, but we have a plan that permits us to deal with this and not pass it on. If we don't do what we need to do right now, we're still going to end up building a jail. We're going to build it in the future. It's going to cost more, and only property owners are going to have to pay for it. This is the most equitable way to get the job done. It is not something that just came up out of the clear blue. We all know that we need this, we need to support this, and people in crime-ridden neighborhoods want a jail.
Thank you very much. At this point in time, believe it or not, we're down to the end of our time, but I want to give each of you up to a minute for closing statements. So with that, we're going to start out with Mr. Young. We'll start out with a minute and go back and forth. So Mr. Young, we'll go a minute for your closing statement.
Well, again, what I'd like to do is ask people not to fall prey to the emotionalism that gets around the issue of the comprehensive safety plan. This is not a plan to just build a jail. It's not about that at all. This is far more than a jail. If we've learned nothing else in this country, and perhaps if we've learned nothing else in the world, it is that simply locking people up solves nothing. We usually get back something far worse than what we put in. This comprehensive safety plan does more than just arrest people and warehouse them. For those who want to change their lives, there are methodologies in place to help them do that. I think that's the most humane thing I've ever seen happen within the criminal justice system during my entire 25 years as a Cincinnati police officer. I know what crime looks like up close and personal. And I know that every person who gets locked up doesn't necessarily belong there. But I also know significant numbers of people who get arrested they should be arrested, they should be jailed, and in most cases, they should be helped. This plan does that.
Thank you. Mr. Shryock.
Yeah, I'd just like to put in a plug for a restorative justice conference that the Interfaith Alliance is putting on Saturday, October 13th from 9 to 1 at the First Unitarian Church, and there's no charge. We have 5 speakers from around the country, including Judge Sage from Butler County, who operates a mental health court that takes people with felonies and any violence also, which we don't take here. But restorative justice is the notion that we can prevent crime and we can restore victims as well as offenders and become more safe. And I'd like to see us think outside the box. You know, jail is just one tool in a tool bag, and we don't have to do that over and over again because it really doesn't work as well as we think so.
Thank you, Mr. Pepper, up to a minute, please.
Thank you, and thank you for hosting us. This is obviously a serious topic, and that's why we've approached it seriously. We can't shut down Queensgate and close the 800 beds as suggested. We can't pretend that there aren't crimes out there, and we can't, wish our way out of this problem. That's why we stepped up to solve it. We are solving it not through a political gimmick, not through more Band-Aids, not through things that bankrupt the county but don't really solve the problem, and not through just one solution. We've heard a lot tonight about prevention. I support this plan, and others do too, because it actually deals with prevention. In other parts of the county that we run are dealing even more with prevention, such as the high school dropout issue. But we also need to tackle the enforcement issue, which is why we add police to the street and expand the sheriff's patrols that are working. And we also know for a fact, study after study, that we also need long-term more jail space. This plan does all 3 of these things, and people oppose it because they don't like one part of it, but I think the balance is actually what makes it work and it'll make it effective in the long run. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Wickrema.
We are asking people not to fall prey to the window dressing. A balanced plan means that treatment and incarceration are equally balanced. This is an expansion, a significant expansion of the county jail, and a minute window dressing of treatment. So don't fall prey to that. If you want to support treatment, we all always support treatment. Vote yes on the mental health and recovery services levy. If the commissioners want to support treatment, they could have increased that levy by 0.5 mil instead of, I think, they increased by 0.2 mil to support treatment rather than expanding the jail. So remember, last time the people voted no on the jail, and we got a slightly better plan. But I'll give them that. So vote no on issue 27 and demand a better plan. So our motto is going to be that we demand a better plan, and vote no on November 6th on issue 27.
Great. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I want to thank you here for being here this evening and giving us your issues. I want to thank everybody at home for your questions and tuning in. I want to remind everybody that you have up until Tuesday, October 9th to register to vote. And if you need more information about voting, you can go to the Hamilton County Board of Elections website, which is votehamiltoncounty.org. They have all kinds of information about how you can get registered, where you can vote, as well as about their new early voting that they're actually pushing this year. So if you want to find out more information about that, and as well as let you know that polls will be open on November 6th from 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. So with that this evening, you've got some information here. We encourage you to continue to get yourself educated before you finally do what you're supposed to do. Go to the polls on November 6th. Thank you very much.
Waycross Community Media takes no position on candidates or issues. We provide these forums so that our residents can be better informed voters for the November 6th election. This has been a production of Waycross Community Media, the Access Partnership of Forest Park, Green Hills, and Springfield Township. Opinions expressed are those of the program's participants and do not necessarily represent the Community Programming Board, volunteers and staff of the Waycross Media Center, the community governments, or the cable company. If you have questions regarding this program, or if you would like to participate in the activities of Waycross, call 825-2429. Or write Waycross Community Media, 2086 Waycross Road, Forest Park, Ohio 45240.